Hello and welcome to Quack Media. My name's Rob Barringer and today I'll be previewing the upcoming match between Derby Union Quidditch Club and the London Unspeakables. On the 20th of July, Derby will visit London to compete in Crystal Palace Park in a best-of-3 series that will be only the second time both teams have competed against each other. With each team eager to implement strategies developed in recent training sessions, and with both teams being at similar skill levels, this promises to be an exciting matchup that will illustrate just how far both teams have come in recent months. Derby Union Quidditch Club are one of the oldest teams in the UK to be playing by IQA rules. From their roots as a sixth form team based at Chellaston Academy in Derby, they've enjoyed a long and rich history and have played against a variety of teams. In their first match against Leicester 2 years ago, Derby suffered a heavy defeat against a side with a deep squad and fast-paced play. Although Derby has had a hard time when competing, mostly due to their renowned substitute problem, they've steadily increased in depth and in skill, and in their most recent matches Derby have given promising performances, even taking a surprise game against Nottingham in early March with a quick snitch catch. In the Northern Cup hosted by Keele University, they recorded their first tournament win against York, coming out 80-20 with the snitch catch last March, and gave a good showing against Leeds, narrowly losing out to a swim. As of the 1st of June, Derby officially transitioned to a university team based at the University of Derby and have strengthened their squad with students after successful recruitment campaigns. With a deeper squad than presented at previous matches and the majority of the squad travelling to London by coach, one can expect Derby will be hyped and will deliver some of their best play in recent times. With the anticipation of substitutes and a good balance of gender, Derby should be able to give a good showing throughout all 3 games. They will, however, miss 3 experienced players, Matt Gunzel, Harry Smith and Lewis Bly, and without their dedicated seeker in Bly, they may struggle in the snitch game. News has just reached us that Bly will be replaced by York captain and Merc for Derby, Thomas Hardman, perhaps suggesting that Hardman will be Derby's dedicated seeker for the matchup. Pitch play is likely where they will hope to demonstrate their progress and will be looking to make a mark on the quaffle score. I spoke to the president and captain of Derby, Andy Cook, to see what he had to say about the matchup. Hi Andy, thanks for taking the time to talk to me and give me your thoughts on the upcoming match. First off, how have Derby been preparing recently, and how do you think your team has developed over the past few months?
Hey Rob, Derby are in the middle of quite some major changes. And the majority of our players are still quite young in their Quidditch careers. In the last few months, we're basically kind of just having to learn the basic skills again and make sure that's sorted and we know what we're doing in that sense. We're lucky with Mercian was such a success in Derby itself because most of our players were playing with great people and those who even weren't playing were watching. We've kind of unlucky coming into you guys that we haven't been able to train because we've broken up for summer now. And there'll be a month between the London match and our last training session. But before we broke up, we've had quite a few practices and we've now got hoops, which is quite exciting in that sense.
Okay, that sounds quite cool. We've seen previously that Derby's had a problem fielding substitute players, but the last match you played against Leicester, you fielded 2 substitutes and produced tighter games than you did 2 years ago. Now that Derby's deep enough to field subs, do you feel like substitute players make a difference to how you play?
Oh, definitely. And actually, I don't think we did ourselves justice at Leicester because in the first game we lost 60-0 with them obviously catching the snitch catch. But if you look at who we were taking on that match, we had 3 debut players, and out of the 10, 6 of them had been playing Mercy in the previous 2 days, with actually the other 4 being stewards. So obviously we went in quite tight. That's probably actually an error from me and Matt on our calendar planning. So yeah, I think the substitutes and taking that proves credit to how Derby can actually play, and subbing is only going to improve us in that way. And actually, although it's a compliment, it's been quite frustrating that, especially since Northern, so many players have been saying that Derby could win matches if we had a deeper squad. And that's quite frustrating because we've not been able to. So it's quite nice actually, and I still think at Northern we could have won a couple of games if we'd had the players, especially because we only had 6 players and a borrowed player. And actually, it's an advantage just having a slightly smaller squad because it means that we've been able to push ourselves a bit further. You will know obviously all about your fat to fit, but that's something we've taken on quite on board because we've had to, because we've been a smaller squad. So yeah, I think we're going to grow and that's going to help, but I'm hoping we can still keep our aim of really pushing ourselves.
Well, that's great. So it sounds like you've got a lot more substitutes, and it sounds like that you're also working a lot on your fitness. That's really great to hear. London and Derby have only played once before, during the BQC in November of 2013, which London won 120-30 with the snitch catch. How do you think the two teams have changed since then, and which aspect of Derby's play do you think will give you the edge this time round?
Yeah, like I said, Derby are actually a completely new squad, and of the people going to the match, only Liberty was there at BQC 1 because two of the other players who are still with us have unfortunately can't make, which is quite sad, but it's actually quite exciting that we're taking completely new players, and actually that's keeping us quite excited about BQC 2 and these matches because we've played so few matches. Actually, it's quite funny that I wasn't at BQC because I told Matt that Quidditch was a stupid idea and sounded silly. So I could have been there. So yeah, we're struggling to take a full squad and we are missing 3 or 4. I think it's more of experience the problem. We're obviously going to be missing Matt Gunsel, and I think missing Harry Smith at beating at the back is probably something we're going to be key. But we've got players. We're bringing yet another debutant in the form of Laura, so that's quite exciting. We've also, unfortunately, in the sense that I would rather not have had to, but we've got a couple of Mercian players, Mercian players coming to us. So we've got Olivia Payne and Tom Hardman. So that's quite exciting that we've managed to bring people in who want to play. So I think it can actually be quite a close match in that sense.
Well, let's hope so. For anyone wanting to watch this match, who will be the Derby player to look out for? Who's set to impress in this matchup?
I'd love to say me here, but I want to embarrass him now, but probably Phil Brown is, I would actually say, Derby's long-term player to watch. And it might not actually be in this match, but over the next couple of months. He's the classic case of came because his girlfriend dragged him along, and he's just shaping up to be a really good beater. People who are at Mercian will know him probably as the floppy-haired first aider, but he managed to watch Jesus and Panda quite well because he wasn't playing. And I think over the 6 months we've got quite an exciting player, and that excites me as a captain, to be honest.
Sounds like Phil's definitely one to look out for in the future.
Yeah.
And likewise, which London player do you think is going to give you the most problems and your team will be wary of?
Yeah, I've obviously not seen London play live before, so for Mercian, I'm slightly concerned about Fiona, to be honest. Especially because Derby aren't going to take a frontline seeker with Lewis unable to play the match. So she's a player that I'm concerned about, and I'm conscious that Derby are going to have to get out snitch range probably as soon as possible. And that's something I'm going to have to emphasise with my players, just to make sure we are at snitch range as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Okay. And finally, Andy, can I get a prediction on the outcome of the matchup? What will be the scores and who will catch the snitch?
I've said where I stand on the snitch, which may be a bit of a negative way of doing it, but actually I know that I'm our reserve seeker, so I'm allowed to be negative in that sense. I think the games are going to be close, and actually Derby have proven that. In our first match, we often will play really tight and actually beat teams, but we tire in longer series and actually majorly in tournaments. So I think it is going to be close, and I think that because we're taking such a young squad, I don't know how we'll do in the long term across the day, but if we can get a win early on or a good result early on, I think that can probably, I'm always going to say us, aren't I? But that's going to definitely give us the advantage to push forward if we can get a solid first result. So go on, Derby to win.
Very, very controversial. Great. Great prediction there, Andy. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time, Andy, and good luck in your matches.
Thank you, Rob.
The London Unspeakables Quidditch team has enjoyed a long and complex history spanning 5 years. Initially a subsection of the Ulu Harry Potter Society, the team eventually began practicing using IQA rules and broke away to become a community team. Last September saw an influx of experienced and novice players, and 2 months later the team competed at the BQC and came runner-up in a breakfast bracket, winning 2 games from 5 in the entire tournament. The team also entered the second White Knights tournament, winning 2 from 5 games and losing 2 matches to a swim, and most recently competed at Roxton and lost all matches. The team have had notorious difficulty in their seeking game, and if one doesn't count Merc players, London went 7 months without catching a snitch post-BQC until the matchup against Reading last June, resulting in the lowest snitch catch percentage of any team in Britain as of Peggy Cook's calculations on the 18th of June. With seeker Fiona Howard personally stepping up her fitness regime, travelling to multiple Merc tournaments and practising with other squads, she will expect to strike gold against Derby. Fiona has recently become a prolific snatcher and recorded her first swim a month ago against Reading. With an apparent end to the snitch catch drought and a determined seeker, London will expect to improve their catch percentage in the upcoming matches. The matchup will be the first home game for London since they played Reading last December. In the past year, the London squad has changed significantly. Since September, the squad has undergone a number of permutations within its roster. London has a history of being a team dense with international players. Within the team itself, international players make up more than half of the squad, a number of whom are study abroad students and au pairs. With a squad that is ever changing, London has found it difficult to establish consistency in their gameplay. Now that the training programme at London has become more stringent, more focused on fitness and the technical aspects of the game, perhaps now we will see London produce a consistency and form that they need to compete at a higher level. With a deep bench representing a good gender balance, a dedicated seeker in Fiona Howard and a stronger pitch-playing team in recent times, they will be hoping to win the first matchup on home soil against Derby. I spoke with Caspian Cunningham, coach of the London team, to see what her thoughts were ahead of the game. Hi Caspian, thanks for giving up your time to appear on Quack Media and give your thoughts on the match. To begin with, London have been the only team to continue practising over the summer period, and most teams lose members over the holiday period. How do you feel London has used this time, and do you think it will give them an edge in the upcoming match?
I think it will give us an edge for sure, because we've been continuing and we've also been doing guest coaching sessions. Like right now we've got Dougal coming in and training us, which is really good. We've done some tackle practices today, which I think London really needs to improve on. And we've got a massive turnout, which is lovely. So I feel like it's definitely going to give us the edge to not have that short break before the game.
Okay then. Thanks for that. Now I want to talk about the snitch game. London has had a history of having a poor snitch catch percentage, and a number of times I've lost matches that were within snitch range. Do you think that those days are behind the team, and what have you done to strengthen the team's chances versus the snitch?
Well, we've definitely been increasing our snitch training. So we've been doing snitch training nearly every session, which is really good, and we've got more people coming in because recently we've had Ashara and Claire really want to take on seeking as a role, which is good, because just having Fiona do it, she just gets exhausted, and once you're tired, that's it. Like, there's no chance of defending. So increasing our training and then having more seekers is really going to help us.
Okay then, thanks for that. Staying on the topic of seeking, we've seen Fiona Howard putting in a significant amount of hours outside of training to increase her fitness. Along with this, she's also been training with other teams and snitching in Merc tournaments over the past few months. Have you noticed an improvement in her seeking capabilities, and if so, what attribute do you think she's developed the most?
Absolutely, at Reading she caught the snitch, yes, which was great. Her fitness has increased loads, which is the main thing, is just having the stamina to go and go and go. And in general, our team is really developing that, so our snitch game is getting much better. I'm not sure what Derby's snitch game is like, so we'll see. I've actually never seen Derby play before, so fun fact, I have no idea what their game is like.
Well, they are quite far away in the Midlands, that's fair enough. With a team that's ever changing due to players leaving to return to their home countries, London hasn't always enjoyed a consistent roster, and as a result has sometimes found it hard to find consistency in their play. Has London now found consistency in its new roster?
We're definitely getting better, but London's just so massive, it's really hard to have that consistency because it's so far for everyone to travel. For university teams, everyone lives within like a 20-minute walk. I live 40 minutes by tube away, and that's quite close compared to some of the players. So consistency is something we struggle with, but it has been improving. So.
And in terms of the actual players, are most of them going to be here long term, or will some of them return back to their own countries?
Well, we've got a lot of long-term players, but then with the nature of how London is a very international city, we've got Sophie from France, we've got Alex, who's only on a 2-year visa, and then some other people who are only here, like our Dutch crew, who knows when they're going to leave. But I think everyone is generally here for at least another year. which means we'll be able to get really good and then everyone will leave. And then we'll start again with freshers. It'll be great.
That's fair enough. So with the recent influx of new players created by the media storm around London, who would you say are the up and coming London players to watch out for?
It's tough because I don't want to get confused between people who are naturally already really good and people who have been improving a lot. Like, I think Ashara is one to watch because he's got his mind really in the game. Like, he does a lot of reading and he knows the history of stuff from years back when he's only been playing for a short time, and he knows the rules really well, and he's very much like, he takes a lot in. So when he's on pitch, he knows exactly what's going on, and he's becoming a really, really good utility player. So I think Ashara, keep an eye on him.
Okay then. And finally, Caspian, can I get your prediction for the results from the matchup, including scores and who will catch the snitch?
Well, like I said, I've never seen Derby play, so it's hard to predict. But due to the fact that they have quite a small roster, so we have the home field advantage, I predict that we will win. I'm going to say that we'll win by quite a lot in the first game, and we'll have the snitch catch, Fiona. But then the second game, because we're going to do probably 3 games, I think. In the second game, they'll probably come back with a vengeance, because that's generally how I feel it goes at most one-to-one match days, is that when you lose that first match, you really put in the effort on the second one. So I think the second match will be closer, but I still think we'll win just because we have the home field advantage.
With the snitch catch?
I don't know what their seekers are like. I'm going to say, yeah, because I believe in my team.
And the third match?
Penalty shootout? No. Yeah, I'm going to say we'll win it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 3-game win for London.
We're going to crush them, so...
Fighting talk. Okay. Thanks very much for your time, Caspian, and good luck in your matches.
You're welcome, thank you.
That's okay. London are confident heading into this matchup, playing on home soil with a deep squad. Derby are confident in acquiring a high quaffle score early on and riding their momentum throughout all 3 matches. Both teams have been focusing a lot on fitness recently, but Derby's fitness may be offset by their small squad. To their credit, Derby have played with small squads previously and have produced some great Quidditch, so with substitutes and new players, perhaps the adrenaline and motivation will carry them through all 3 matches. If not, and with no dedicated seeking team, Derby may struggle to hold on to any quaffle advantage they have if London defend the snitch properly. Thus, it will probably come down to how organised Derby are in the quaffle play that will decide how this matchup goes. Derby think that they'll edge it, London think it will be a whitewash. One thing is certain, this is going to be a high-tempo, fast-paced game that both teams will learn from. I'm Robert Barringer, reporting from Quack Media.